Going for two, kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for two, sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this, multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past, any and all I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking, so what are we talking? What kind of alignment and running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top end. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping and woo. This is the armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo.
What is going on, guys, and welcome to episode 353 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Geoff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeoffLambert77. Of course, we're here every Wednesday night live on the Going for Two Live Podcast Network. We're on Facebook Live, we're on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and we're also now on goingfor2.live, the website, syndicated in all major podcast networks. I'm here with my co-host, soon-to-be married co-host. What's up, Ryan?
Oh, not much, man. I got the bachelor party here in 2 days, so hopefully I'll make it back to the show next week.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see you again.
Hopefully you'll see me again.
Don't get locked up on a roof or anything.
Nah, dude, I'm not leaving Pittsburgh, so it can't be that bad.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Joining us tonight on short notice, and I realized when I hit the live button that the title of the show that came up on Twitter still has Sam's name on there, so I apologize.
What's Sam, guys, what's going on?
So, of course, we got Steven tonight of the Fantasy Coaches Podcast, and you can follow him at Coach Steve P on Twitter. What's up, man?
What's going on, guys? Happy to be on the show tonight. Looking forward to chatting some fantasy with you guys.
Good stuff, man. Thanks for coming on such short notice. Unfortunately, Sam, who's, like I said, in the title, had some work stuff come up and could not make the show. She'll be on in a few weeks. We'll get her back on the show. But Steve was nice enough to join us in a last minute thing here. I sent him the show sheet probably about an hour ago, so hopefully he got enough time to get some prep work in. No one's as good as Ryan because Ryan can do it. He's literally doing it right now as I speak. I can see him Googling shit right now. All right, guys. So usually at this point, I plug the Underdog site that is our sponsor. We have a plug for them later on, but I wanted to plug. We have a DFS daily fantasy contest right now for charity that we are running. It's a free contest to enter. It is invite only, so you have to actually register. You can do that by going to goingfor2.com/toys. Donations are encouraged, but not mandatory. So if you wanted to get into that, visit goingfor2.com/toys. We are giving away, let me grab it, this pretty sweet championship belt that was donated to us by Fantasy Jocks. It even has on there the goingfor2.com champion. So that is going to the winner. Our goal right now is set at $1,000. I think we're right around $230, something like that currently. So a little bit of a ways to go. It's going to be for the Thanksgiving slate, for the 3-game slate. So if you play DFS, if you're on DraftKings, visit goingfor2.com/toys. You can register there. It's pretty easy. It's like 4 questions. It's like, what's your name, what's your email, and what's your DraftKings handle. That's all you need to do to fill out
Gobble,
to
gobble,
get into
baby.
that contest. What was that?
Gobble, gobble, baby.
Gobble, gobble. Yep. So we're hoping to get some good money raised here for Toys for Tots. That's what the charity is going to be going to. So again, guys, goingfor2.com/toys. We have a great show tonight. We're going to do some Spade or Fade, which is basically our version of Sit Starts. We're going to do some Fact or Cap. We're a little bit past the halfway point of the fantasy season. So we'll do some Fact or Cap. Listener questions, of course, and then as usual, our normal kickoff with the nonsense draft.
Attention, everyone. Let's mock draft.
All right, so yesterday was Halloween, trick-or-treating. If you have kids like I do, then you probably got bags of candy in your house for them going out. If you're like Brian, you probably have bags of candy all the time in your house just for no reason at all.
I mean, yeah.
So tonight we're going to be drafting the best non-chocolate candy. And as always, our guest goes first. So, Steven, you got the 101 here. What you got?
Yeah, no, this is a great feeling here. Oh man, I would have to go with a classic favorite of mine that I always like to get, and it's Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah, that's
I feel like there's different flavors. There's big ones. There's little ones. There's ones with the juice inside of them. It's like just a good all around non-chocolate candy. So that's my 101.
Yeah, that would be my 101 as well, 100%.
Yeah.
You're right. And my favorite ones of the group, besides just the original, is the ones that are like watermelon. The watermelon ones, those are my favorite
Yeah,
ones.
those are good stuff.
Yeah. All right,
I keep
Ryan.
them stocked in my desk at work.
Yeah,
I'm a child.
That's smart.
Ryan, you got the 102.
I'm going Starburst, specifically the pink,
The pink. I had a feeling you were going to say that.
because I would buy that. They sell that whole bag of the pink. I haven't done it yet, but I would.
Yeah, that's a great choice. That is definitely a great choice. So I'm up at the 103, and I think I'm going with another classic. Back in the day, they still do it, I think, but nowadays they give out just the one flavor. But they used to give you the box with the split flavor, and that's the Nerds.
Ooh.
I love me some Nerds. I'll straight crush a box of Nerds. Now they give those little small ones. It's all one flavor. It's like a shot. It's just
They're
like,
all one flavor now.
yeah, they're all one flavor now. You get like a grape or a. But they used to do the boxes with a little slide out, and you slide one side, and you can get a little bit of this.
I remember that.
That makes me glad I don't have kids, so I don't know about this.
Yeah.
So I just feel like my childhood feels ruined.
They might still sell the big ones in stores, but I know for Halloween they always give out the one little box with the one flavor in there.
I mean, if you don't give out king size candy at Halloween, then you're a cheapskate.
All right, back to you, Steven.
Yeah, no, you left me with a great classic here that I love getting all the time also, and it's Skittles. It's just, as a kid, I love them. As an adult, I still love them. Probably one of my go-tos outside of Sour Patch Kids in terms of candy. So.
Skittles, good.
Yeah, and Jamie's in the chat. He's agreeing with us that the 101 is definitely Sour Patch Kids.
100%.
All right, Ryan, back to you here at the 105.
Love me some spicy stuff. Always have, always will. I'm going some hot tamales.
Hot tamales, good stuff. I'm not a huge fan of hot tamales, honestly, but I they are pretty popular. I know
people like them.
Anything with spice, man.
Yeah, I like the spice part of it. I'm just not a big fan of how they stick to your teeth. They're just
it's like it was like the gateway drug to fireballs and adult.
Yeah, I do love me some fireballs, that's for sure. All right, I got the 106 here, and there's still quite a few good ones on here. I'm gonna go with the Haribo, and it's got to be the Haribo ones, gummy bears.
Oh yeah,
yes, those are
definitely the best ones for sure. That like I used to live next to a neighbor of mine that was from Germany, and she used to bring them back from Germany, the actual ones, and they taste a little bit better than the American version, but they're all still really good. So I'll go with the Haribo gummy bears.
Good choice.
Let's see where we at. We're at 107, Steven.
Yeah, this one's tough here because I feel there's a lot of different ones. I'm gonna go with one that someone might not know, and it's called Spears. I'll have to send it to you guys. But I remember they were like little, just like circle candies, and like if you sucked them long enough, they would just turn white on you. Like they were just colored on the top. It was just probably terrible for you. But
so you sucked them and they turned white.
Are they Spears or are they Sprees?
Is it Sprees? Is that the word, Sprees? I'm
terrible.
I'm terrible.
Sprees I recognize. Yeah.
Sprees. Yes, that's the one I was talking about.
Yes, I love Sprees as well. That was actually on my list. I love it.
Classic.
All right, Ryan, your last pick here, 108.
Dude, the Sprees thing just threw me off. I had it in my head and it just left me. Son of a bitch. It was along that lines. Also,
you're about to get skipped like the Vikings.
Dude, Jamie at the candy corn. It's a bad take. I'm about to say candy corn just because he was wrong. And I love candy corn.
Oh God.
I'm gonna go with candy corn. Yeah.
You're going candy corn? I thought you were joking.
Nope, I love candy corn. I don't like. That's probably not my next pick, but I don't like Jamie's hatred for it. We're taking that late round flyer.
Fair enough. All right, going against what Jamie said. All right, so I'll close this out here. The 109, just another classic. I got two classics that I really like, but I think Sweet Tarts is probably my go-to. I like the Sweet Tarts.
Sweet Tarts is good, yeah.
Yeah, Jamie's saying candy corn belongs in the trash,
Dude,
and I tend to agree.
Swedish Fishes just blanked out of my mind for a second.
Swedish Fish is a good one. Yeah, that's definitely up
That
there.
is a good one too. Yeah.
I had runts. You ever had runts?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the
Runs.
little fruit
Yeah.
flavors. Yeah, those are
There's
good.
like
Those are good.
there's other sour candies I wanted to say, but they're like I feel like knockoff Sour Patch Kids, like the Airhead like sour things. They're like
Airheads
Sour
are
Patch
good.
Kids by another company. So I felt like that was cheating.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
All right, that wraps up the nonsense draft. Let's get into some actual football stuff.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, we'll start here at the top. Lots of quarterback news, and I want to talk about really the ancillary pieces to that quarterback news. And the first one here is that Jaren Hall gets to start this Sunday against the Falcons. I'll go to you first, Stephen. Here, talk about the Jordan Addisons, the KJ Osbornes, and a little bit of the running game as well. Like, how is this all affected by Jaren Hall getting to start here?
Yeah, no, I was actually literally just doing a write-up about him overall. And with Jaren Hall, he's kind of like a Zach Wilson type of quarterback, maybe hopefully not as bad for the Vikings, but a guy that is smaller, can do things with his legs, can kind of throw the ball well on the run. So it's obviously going to be a big downgrade from Kirk Cousins to Hall. You should expect, I think, Addison to be able to stay involved. Osborne wasn't really like involved enough where you trusted him in fantasy lineups most weeks anyways. But Addison should be a guy you should be able to continue to start as a flexible option, even with Hall on the field. They always say that a rookie quarterback's best friend is their tight end. So T.J. Hawkinson should continue to see his targets. He was seeing the beneficiary of targets when Jefferson went down, so he should be fine. And then you would hope that the run game would maybe run a little bit more, but it's been so inefficient. It's like, how do you expect that to improve with a quarterback that they know is not going to throw the ball deep? Hall was never really a big, deep guy, especially an active, deep guy. So this Vikings offense is really looking pretty concerning moving forward here. And I do expect that Hall might actually even take some scrambles at times where he might not even consider dumping the ball off like Kirk Cousins might have. So I think all around it's a downgrade for most of these positions here, unless they can figure out the run game, which they have not been able to this year.
Yeah, that's a good point. Ryan, I want to ask you, obviously you can touch on those pieces as well, but Jaren Hall, and they also traded for Dobbs. If Jaren Hall comes out and plays well, do you still think they stay with him, or do they make that trade to start Dobbs, you think?
I don't think he's going to. But I mean, they traded for Dobbs for a reason. He's cheaper, not he's fairly cheaper, not. But man, you traded for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You think you kind of compete. I don't think this dude's the answer. I don't feel safe with any of the pieces this week. Atlanta's defense has played better than it should, better than most people give it credit for. Hawkinson's the only one I have any confidence in, just because tight end. I'm nervous for Addison. I feel better once we get Dobbs in there. But I don't feel good about that in the future for all.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think this week, I think if you have Addison or Hawkinson, you're probably starting them because you probably don't have too many better options. But I would be nervous about
it's bye week, hell week.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal this week for sure. You're starting some guys that you probably haven't started all year. So yeah, it's going to be tough. Steven, what are your thoughts on Hall Superflex? Let's say you were the Kirk Cousins owner and you got Hall off the waiver wire. Are you comfortable putting him at your QB2?
I'm not completely comfortable, but I mean, if we're looking at the landscape and a lot of my write-ups are doing right now, I'm like, new quarterback playing this team this week. So there's a lot of new quarterbacks that are in lineups this week, whether it's injuries, bye weeks. So you could. What I said was I probably wouldn't want to trust him in this matchup. The Falcons are overall a pretty good team. I don't expect them to get torched by another rookie quarterback at home this time, at least. So I would probably look to avoid him, but a lot of people in Superflex leagues might be forced to start.
Him, yeah. Especially if he's got some rushing upside, that might help a little bit. Ryan, let's go to you on this next note here. Another quarterback note. Aiden O'Connell expected to start this week over Jimmy Garoppolo, who looked like absolute trash this past week. Obviously, they got changed at coach. They got to change it to GM. They got to change at quarterback. If you're sitting there and you're the owner of, Devonta Adams or even Jacoby Myers, like, what are you doing with these guys?
throwing up. No. Essentially, at this point, however I felt about any Vegas player who I'd start in fantasy, whether it's Adams, Jacobs, I don't think it changes from Garoppolo to O'Connell. Garoppolo stunk, and O'Connell can either stink or be a little bit better. Like, you have a little bit of what's in the box could be what you already have because you can't get much worse, or it could be a little bit better. So I think it's, I guess, an upgrade for them, but I'm not confident with it. I think if Devontae Adams screams at him enough, he'll force the ball to him, which that's cool.
Yeah,
because a young guy will give in. That I will work with that, but like, I don't think it changes much because you're going from trash to trash.
yeah, it's pretty brutal. I think there was a stat that someone put out on Twitter, and that during that game, I think that third quarter, I think is when he threw that pick six, Jared Goff did, and at that point,
Garoppolo, please don't disrespect poor Jared Goff.
No, I think Goff did throw the pick.
Okay. I
was going to say Jared Goff threw the pick six, and he had that 75 yards thrown to a Raider. At that time, Jimmy Garoppolo had 42 yards thrown to Raiders. So in the third quarter, Jared Goff had more passes, more yardage to a Raider than Jimmy Garoppolo did. It was pretty brutal.
They stink.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your thoughts here, Steven, on O'Connell? I mean, he started one game, I think, already this year.
Yeah, unfortunately, he got the bad stick in his very first start. That was the game where the Chargers had like 8 sacks against him. The offensive line could not hold up for anything, but he did look pretty good when he did fill in for Brian Hoyer a week ago. He was a pretty smart kid coming out of college, a guy who worked his way through Purdue, worked his way up to becoming a starter there. And he's a smart quarterback. Again, he might not be physically gifted with a lot of great traits or anything like that, but I don't think the offense really changes overly too much between Jimmy G and Aiden O'Connell. So, I mean, it could honestly improve potentially a little bit. I mean, so.
Can't get worse.
Yeah.
I just don't see how it can get worse.
I said the same thing about that Ryan said about, Aiden O'Connell will just force the ball to Adams as much as he can. And you know what? If he throws 3 picks going to Adams, as long as Adams catches about 3 or 4 of those, then I'll be fine with it. So he definitely could be an upgrade. Let's stick with the quarterback theme. Taylor Heineke gets the start here for Atlanta. I think last week, Ritter went out with the concussion. Then he got cleared of the concussion, but not clear to go back into the game. They kept him out. They basically benched him. And then this week, they're going to start Taylor Heineke over him. Please tell me, Steven, that this improves some of those pieces that we so much love in fantasy that we want to see blow up. Does Heineke make Drake London and Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson relevant again?
Well, I mean, I really hope so. I mean, what Desmond Ridder was throwing out there was really not that good, and he would look even worse on the road. Tyler Heineke was just the kind of quarterback, and he's scrappy. He has a little mobility to him. He's gonna get the ball to his talented players on the field. I mean, you saw last year when he was with the Commanders, and him and Ted McLaurin, who's kind of similar downfield kind of guy like Drake London. He had like 7 of his 9 games he played with him over 70 yards. So Tyler Heineke likes to air the ball out downfield. This matchup is perfect for Drake London to kind of go off here, and he really needs a big game this week. And if Kyle Pitts keeps playing kind of on the outside, which he has been, he also could be in potentially for a better game. I don't know if it's a big blow-up game for Kyle Pitts per se, but I definitely trust both these guys a little bit more than I have in the past few weeks, that's for sure. And Bijan should be good as long as he can get targets. He had 0 for 5 last week. You just give him 3 targets, let him do something with it. He should be fine.
Yeah, agreed. Ryan, what are your thoughts here on Heineke?
It's nice having a quarterback situation to talk about that's a little exciting for the skill players. Like Heineke's, like you said, he did it with McLaurin. He had Dotson with double-digit touchdowns and pretty close last year.
Yeah.
Like, he played good football. He's super boring. He's not going to get a rushing upside, but he's going to do well. You're also not going to have him taking away rushes from Bijan. And he's also going to dump the ball off to the running backs. He is good for that team and what they have. I'm excited about that move. And he's worth a super flex start too, if you just talk about him as a QB2. Like, we actually have some excitement here.
Yeah, as someone that lives in the Washington, D.C. area, I got to see Heineke, pretty much week in and week out when he was here. And he's a bit of a gunslinger, and he has no fear, and he'll throw that ball. And Drake London's a great 50-50 receiver. You
Right.
get that ball anywhere near Drake London, it's going to be. We assume, we haven't seen much of it, but we assume Kyle Pitts can be that guy as well. Catch the 50-50 balls if he can just get them thrown in his way. So yeah, I think Heineke is of the three quarterbacks we just talked about, he's the one I think that actually improves the position skill sets, pretty well. So I'm excited to see what he can do this weekend. All right, let's get to our spade or fade.
Spade or fade.
All right, if you haven't watched the show before, Spade or Fade is basically our version of the sit starts. We're going to give guys that we like, which are spades, and guys that we don't like that are going to be our fades. And Steven, we'll start with you. Give us one of your spades.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a quarterback here, and Derek Carr this week. He's got a really good matchup against the Chicago Bears. The Bears have allowed a ton of touchdowns this season to quarterbacks. They allow the 5th most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks, and Carr is starting to look a little bit better in this offense here, starting to get a little bit healthier. He's on 3 straight games over 300 passing yards now, and in a game where the Bears have just not looked good in the secondary. I think in a one QB league this week, or definitely in Superflex leagues, Derek Carr I think will end up being a really good start in fantasy.
Yeah, I like that call. Ryan, what you got for your spade?
I'm actually sticking with what we just talked about, weirdly. And Drake London, dude. It's that bounce back. Like, it's a huge game. The Vikings stink against receivers. They give up the 4th most fantasy points to them. We have a quarterback who's a gunslinger, which we just talked about. Dude, he's going to ball out this week.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's the biggest beneficiary of Heineke move for sure.
I think it's a top 12 week for him.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, so my spade is going to be actually 2 guys because one's a quarterback, and I think the receiver that's going to benefit is going to be the quarterback is C.J. Stroud, and I think Nico Collins has a big bounce back week after they had a pretty rough week last week. The Bucs give up the 10th most points to quarterbacks, an average of 271 yards a game. They've also given up a league worst 4 rushing touchdowns to quarterbacks as well. So C.J. Stroud, not that he's a rushing quarterback, he has that ability if he needed to use it. And I think Nico Collins, I just traded for him in one of my leagues, and I was super excited to get him in one of my dynasty leagues. I think he's legit. I think he had a bit of a down week. That whole offense played a little bit down to their competition. But I think this week against the Bucs, I think they're going to bounce back in a big way. So Stroud, I think, has got top 12, ability this week, as well as Nico Collins. I think I have Nico Collins at 16 currently, ranked 16, but I think he can get into that top 12 too with a couple big plays. Let's do fades, Steven. What you got for a fade?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bucs wide receiver duo, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. They get to play the Houston Texans secondary. They're a team that's been the 3rd best in the league per game against wide receivers this year. Last week everyone thought last week was a tough matchup, but the Bills are a really bad secondary at the moment here with all their injuries, and the Texans are getting healthier, and they're coming off a game where they lost to the Panthers. I'm sure they're going to be red hat to kind of bounce back here, and I think it could be a struggling day for this Bucs offense.
Yeah, that's a good call. I like that. Ryan, what you got for a fade?
I'm actually going to combine my 2 fades into one thing because they play against each other, and it's Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift. Dallas and Philly should be a shootout. They're 1st and 3rd for least points given up to the running back position. It's going to be a struggle. And they're going to be throwing. They're going to be trying to score like that. I just don't see where they're as super involved. Obviously, you're playing them, but there's a definite air of caution on it because, if it's DFS or something, I'm staying clear.
Yeah, and Swift's issue, I think Pollard might get some checkdowns from Dak Prescott, but Swift, because of Hurts' rushing ability, doesn't get the checkdowns that
he freaking should.
Yeah.
Jesus, he definitely should.
Yeah, they got to figure out a way to get him the ball more. But yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be a tough game to figure out. It'll be a popular DFS game to target, but as far as the running backs concerned, it's hard to figure those guys out. All right, I'm going with a fade. The guy we talked about a little bit earlier, and Steven said he wasn't too concerned about him. I'm a little bit more concerned about him, and that's Jordan Addison at Atlanta with Jaron Hall at quarterback. If Addison was a 6'4", 230-pound receiver, maybe he'd be decent, I think. But being the smaller guy that he is, and having to use his route running ability to get open, and Jaron Hall having had the timing route down, I just don't see it happening very much. I do think T.J. Hockenson has a huge game. I think he gets probably the most targets in that offense with this quarterback. But I think Jordan Addison struggles a little bit this week. And if you got better options, start them over Addison this week. Let's do one more Spade this time, Steven.
Yeah. Give me Chuba Hubbard this week. I really thought coming out of the bye week that Chuba Hubbard would have. Well, he did. He ended up being the lead guy there in the Panthers over Miles Sanders by a mile, and Miles Sanders was supposedly healthy going into that game. And they have another great matchup this week here against the Colts, who have allowed like the 4th most fantasy points per game to running backs. Chuba Hubbard had 12 carries compared to Miles Sanders 2. I think they continue to roll with Chuba Hubbard here, and obviously they're going to mix in Sanders a little bit, but I think they're going to give Hubbard another chance at starting this week, and he should probably be a little bit better a lot better, hopefully, than what we saw in Week 8 here. So he's a decent flex option for Week 9.
Yeah, I had him as a Spade as well on my list. I think that's a great call. And Miles Sanders is almost non-existent in that offense coming out of that bye week. They barely used him at all. It was a Chuba Hubbard show for sure. Ryan, what you got for a Spade?
I know this is going to feel like I'm just trying to will this in existence.
Homer pick. Here it comes.
No. I love the matchup because the Raiders stink and they're in shambles. Jalen Hyatt breakout.
I like it.
Like he has a great matchup. Tyrod can throw it a little bit. It's coming, man. We've seen glimpses. They just need him involved.
Yeah.
And getting pounded by Dallas just ain't gonna do it. They can build Raiders.
And he actually looked decent in his last game. I can't remember his line. He had a couple plays. I remember listening to him on the radio, and he was.
You're thinking 2 games ago, the Arizona game. He was
definitely not last.
He was 2 for 89.
Yeah, I knew he had a couple big plays. Yeah, you're right. 2 weeks ago is when it was. All right, so y'all took all the rest of my spades because I had Chuba Hubbard as well. So I'll give another fade. I got a quarterback fade going up against Ryan's team. Geno Smith. I am fading him going up against Baltimore. Baltimore's defense is legit. Geno Smith has not looked as good as he did last year. I watched that game a little bit, and he skipped a few balls, threw them in the dirt right at DK Metcalf's feet. Just hasn't looked really in sync with DK Metcalf most of the season. And Baltimore's defense is not going to help that.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah, they're going to get a ton of pressure on him, and Geno Smith is not a guy that handles that very well. So Smith probably wasn't a starter, but he might have been this week with all the buys. So, but if you got a better option than Geno Smith, you need to find it because that's a tough matchup for Geno Smith. All right, we'll give you two one more fade each, and then we'll move on to our next segment. So, Steven.
I can bind my face. Let him go first. Though.
All right, Steven, give me one more fade.
Yeah. I am going to go with the Deontay Foreman show. Last week, obviously, Deontay Foreman did not live up to hype with Roschon Johnson back there. I do expect that the Saints will be ahead in this game, kind of forcing Deontay Foreman kind of to just be a no-show. And you saw like late in the game with the Bears and Chargers that Roschon or even Darrington Evans got a lot more work because they were behind in that game here. Tyson Baggett, he's an okay quarterback, but he's not helping move the sticks here. Foreman probably should be left on benches this week in fantasy. So.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I got him in a couple of my leagues, and I've been looking at him like, do I start him this week? And I don't know. I think Jamie's in the chat, and he's the conductor of the Roschon Johnson.
Are we going to fade Roschon? Since we're doing fades, right?
You can do a fade of Roschon.
We'll do a fade of Roschon. We'll see.
Yeah, you might not watch the show anymore if we did that.
No, Roschon's okay.
Yeah. All right, Ryan, you got your fade?
Yeah, I do. And it pains me too because I love the player, but it's James Cook. They hate him. Like they need to love him, but they hate him.
They hate running backs in general.
They hate running backs in general. They just got Lombardi Lenny, who I don't think is going to make any difference this week, but that tells me they don't have confidence. They're going to be in a shootout with the Bengals the way Cincinnati's playing. And, that's a game that Buffalo's going to come in. They're going to want to throw right off the bat to try to make a statement and vice versa. He's just not going to be involved.
Fair enough. Yeah, James Cook he started off hot. He kind of started off like, okay, he's getting the workload. And
then they're like, I'm good.
Yeah, it's like, no. All right, let's get into our next segment.
Prop bet of the week.
All right, let me pull up the screen here. All right, let's go. Ryan, you got yours yet, or you want me to go to Steven first?
I do.
Okay, let's go to you. Let's go to you first this week.
I am going George Pickens higher than 53.5 rushing receiving yards combined. So Pickens has this weird thing. He's had 2 just complete duds of games this year, a 36-yard, a 25-yard game. He followed the 36 yards with 127. He followed the 25-yard game with 130. And he just had 22 last week where he wasn't involved. Just following off how he's been, it's been multiple booms, one disappear. He bitches, and he's fed again. I think we see a big game out of Pickens this week.
I like that call. I do. I like it. All right, Steven, what you got for your pick 'em of the week?
I did not have a chance to get one yet. I apologize. That was the one thing
You're
that I
good.
did not have.
This is about the
So Ryan, you have a second one. Go.
No,
for
I
it.
didn't bring one, but
We can talk through it. Give us one of your favorite games here. We'll just
Let's go with the Dolphins page. Dolphins Chiefs.
All right, let's pull that up.
everybody.
So we got a little bit of everybody. We got Tyreek Hill, Tua. Anybody you want me to look at in particular?
Let's look at Tyreek. Let's go to Tyreek. Let's have some fun with Tyreek.
All right, so Tyreek's got
man.
yeah, he's got 91.5 receiving yards as his line, or he has 92.5 rushing and receiving yards. If you wanted to take that route,
I like that. Let's do that one.
go with that. You want to go higher on the 92.5?
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to do higher than 92.5. And just on this note, because I looked at this game and I'm like, oh man, Tyreek's going home. No, the schedule makers made this a game that's going to be played overseas. Like Tyreek's home game to Kansas City is going to be overseas. How much does that make sense?
I prefer it. I prefer it for fantasy and for the Dolphins. So
Fair enough.
Bro, I hate having anything to do with overseas games.
Yeah, it is
Chaos
pretty
constantly.
yeah,
it is definitely. It's tough. All right, so my pick was going to be in the Dallas Philly game. I'm trying to remember what the line was. I was going with here we go. AJ Brown, 82.5 receiving yards. He just broke a record. I don't know if y'all knew that or not. Second consecutive games with 125 yards, more than anybody's ever done it. He did it 6 games in a row. He beat.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. He broke Calvin Johnson's record of 5. So 82.5 sounds a little low. And as Ryan just mentioned, those guys like to give up some passing yards on both sides. So the running game will struggle. They will throw the ball over the field. So AJ Brown once again goes over 100. Maybe he doesn't get 125, but I think he breaks 100. But easily breaks the 82.5. So I'm gonna go higher here as well. All right, to recap this, we went and I put Deontay Johnson. I didn't mean to put that. I meant to put Pickens. So let me go back and get the correct pick on there.
Yeah, I would not have felt confident anything with him.
Yeah, that would have been brutal. All right, here we go. So Pickens, we went the rush and receiving yards, right? 53.5.
53. Yeah, it's a 1 yard different. Why wouldn't we do that?
Yeah, why wouldn't we do it? Exactly. All right, so we got George Pickens higher than 53.5 rush or receiving yards. We got Tyreek Hill higher than 92.5 rush or receiving yards. And I got AJ Brown higher than 82.5 receiving yards. I'm going to drop my $5 on there. And unfortunately, guys, we still
who missed it last week? I know it wasn't me. I hit it on Thursday 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who. I know I missed mine. I don't remember what my pick was, but I know I definitely. Oh, I had Tua, right? Didn't I have Tua over 300 last week?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Tua that I missed. I believe
you need to stick on them lower ones. Those high ones are bad.
It was higher than 275 or something. I thought for sure you would go over that.
It's bad.
Yeah,
that's like anything over any bets over 85 yards. I'm hesitant.
Yeah, it's a little tough at that point. All right, let's get to our next segment here. We haven't done this one in a while.
And now it's Fact or Cap.
All right, so for all the old heads out there like myself, fact or cap is basically true or false. I don't know, somewhere on TikTok they invented this fact or cap, and somehow cap means false. I don't really know how that came about, but we're going to roll with it anyway. Fact or cap, I got 5 questions here. I'll ask the two of you, and we'll just deem them if they're going to happen or if they're not going to happen. So first one here, Stephen, for you. Jonathan Taylor is a top 12 running back rest of season. So from here on out, he's going to be a top 12 guy. What are your thoughts here?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I am going to go with Cap, honestly, on this one here. If he came in this season from his suspension or his injury and was the guy, I would say yeah, absolutely. But this whole Zach Moss situation, I don't think that is going away anytime soon. You thought, all right, this past week it was going to go away. Then Zach Moss still had 15 carries in this past week's game here.
Yep.
I don't think they're going to go away from it. I think they like what they're doing by preserving Jonathan Taylor this season here and not overworking him in a season that kind of feels lost because Anthony Richardson went down for the year. I think Zach Moss is going to continue to be used. And yes, Jonathan Taylor is going to have some decent blow-up games here and there, but I think there's going to be a cap limit to his play the rest of the season. So I'm going to say no.
Fair enough, yeah. And you're absolutely right about them splitting carries still. I mean, they almost split it almost evenly. Even the snaps were split evenly. So it's going to be tough to trust every week.
May I?
Yeah. Factor cap, Ryan. What you got?
I'm on the opposite end of this one. We've seen an uptick. It's been slow. It was slow. His first 2 weeks, obviously, 6 and 8 carries. But his third week back against Cleveland, who is the number 2 rush defense in the league, he went 18 for 75 and a touchdown. So he averaged 4.2 a carry plus 4 targets. So he put up 120 scrimmage yards. Last week against the Saints, who are the 7th best against running backs, also put up 97 scrimmage yards. He's getting more involved, and he just did it against really good teams.
Yeah.
It's Jonathan Taylor, dude. I don't care how good Zach Moss is. He's going to get his. And we saw 14 touches, 21 touches in his last 2 games. That's the volume you don't want him getting 30 touches. That's how you get burned out, man. A top 12 running back's not hard to beat.
True.
All right.
He needs 60% market share, and he'll get that.
Good stuff. And Jamie wants to know what you're drinking, Ryan.
I am drinking Old Forester 1920.
Nice. There you go, Jamie. All right. Next one here. We'll start with you this time, Ryan. Fact or cap? Cam Akers will outscore Alexander Madison rest of season. He had a pretty decent game this past week. Actually outsnapped Madison, I believe. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, because Madison's absolutely just terrible. It's like he's running in quicksand at all times. He is meant to be a complimentary person. I don't think any will be great because the Vikings are shambles, even with the addition of Dobbs. But if we had to choose between the two, it's definitely going to be Akers just because we've seen him do it on a bad team before.
Yeah, I like it. Factor cap, Steven, what you got? Cam Akers more than Alexander Madison rest of the season?
I'm going to say no still. Madison still had a bulk of the offensive snaps over Akers this past weekend, and I believe in the second half, Madison basically had all the work and Akers had nothing. Why are you going to do that if you expect the Cam Akers is going to take over this backfield? I mean, I just don't see it. He's not even running that efficiently. He happened to catch a touchdown. He happened to catch a big pass. Great, absolutely great. But his rushing output on the ground has not been good. I mean, he happened to be in on that last drive where they got a touchdown. Great. But it's not like he's running any better than Alexander Madison. I mean, could it happen? Absolutely. Will it happen? I mean, I don't feel as great with either back, but I think Madison is still the guy there. They paid him to be there.
Do you want to start either back on your team?
No, absolutely not.
No, you want no parts of any of them. But if you
that wasn't the question,
though. That wasn't the question. But if you had to choose,
they paid Madison $8 million to be there for the next 2 years. They're going to use him.
Yeah,
it's so close.
Yeah, it comes back down to the money.
I could spend $8 million on much more better things than that.
I love the disagreement on the show. So far, neither one of you have agreed on either one of these.
This never happens.
Yeah. All right, number 3 one here, Steven. We'll start with you this time. Trey McBride is a top 10 tight end rest of season. Of course, had his big breakout game this past weekend. Got pushed into the end zone. I don't know if that was – I think he was stopped, but they refs kind of let it play out. He got pushed into the end zone and it counted it. But had a really big game. So what are your thoughts rest of the season? Top 10?
I mean, it's really not hard to be top, between 8 to 10 the rest of the year. As long as you catch a couple touchdowns the rest of the season, you're pretty much okay for our tight end one season. But I think it will have to depend if Kyle Murray comes back. Because Clayton Tune is going to start in week 9. And again, I think Clayton Tune was an okay prospect coming out of the NFL draft. But is he gonna play the whole season? Is that going to help Trey McBride? I don't know. He was doing well with Joshua Dobbs, so there's potential there. But if Kyler Murray comes back, I really do believe there's potential in him to be in that situation. I mean, just a year and a half ago when there was no Hopkins, Kyler Murray and Zach Ertz, Zach Ertz, thank you. They were doing well together. He was on pace for a really good season here. So obviously Trey McBride is almost like a decade younger than him and a lot faster at this point of his career. So I think there's a real possibility that Trey McBride finishes as a top 10 tight end this year.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that. If Kyler Murray comes back,
Murray's got to come back though.
Yeah,
he has to.
Yeah. I'll feel less.
I think he's going to. He's practicing. He doesn't. He wants to win some games, so he's not replaced.
So are you agreeing here, Ryan, with fact?
I want to disagree just to disagree, but no. I mean, the target share we've seen that uptick since Ertz hasn't been healthy. Dude, 14 targets last week is ridiculous. But even 2 weeks before that, 6 and 5 for a tight end, pretty solid.
Pretty good. Yeah.
And with Ertz out and possibly Kyler coming back, that could be a lot higher quality targets. I like it.
Yep. All right, this next one's an interesting one because me and Ryan poo-pooed this guy a little bit in the offseason, and he came out and did something that only few quarterbacks have ever done. But is Will Levis a QB2 in Superflex rest of season? And a high-end QB2. We're not talking guy that just sneaks into the bottom here, Ryan. What are your thoughts on Will Levis, QB2 in Superflex? Factor cap.
God. You said high-end QB2?
That's put it so if we divided the QB2 range in half, he is over the halfway point of a QB.
I would put him like 18 range, 16 to 18 range.
Okay, so a little bit below the halfway
like
point.
the middle of it. The fact the Titans just, again, they're a team that has to score points because they're playing from behind and they're kind of a little bit of a mess. He has D-Hop. He has enough weapons that he should be okay. I don't trust him week in, week out. I think there's going to be I think he got a little bit lucky and caught teams by surprise because of what we saw, and it's probably not going to happen quickly. But, dude, kind of QB after that 15, 16 spot's kind of bad right now.
Kind of brutal, yeah.
After you get C.J. Stroud, we're talking the Baker Mayfields, Derek Carrs, Geno Smith. I'd rather start him. I'd feel more confident there.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I think with that game that we just saw with them 4 touchdowns, I think they came out thinking to stop Derrick Henry and okay, Will Levis, you beat us. And basically left D-Hop one-on-one with the cornerbacks out there, and D-Hop's going to beat him if you just throw the ball as far as you can throw it. D-Hop's going to go get it. That's exactly what happened.
Can I give an either-or on this for Steven before you answer?
Yeah.
Just to make this a little bit more fun. Who would you rather start the rest of the season, Will Levis or Sam Howell?
Oh, Sam Howell.
Okay.
Yes.
I know Sam Howell's he's QB8 surprisingly, but I feel like he's not respected. I just want to see where you are.
Yeah.
I was a big Sam Howell guy preseason, and
were you?
So yes, I was excited for him this year. So
fantasy wise, he's been balling out. NFL wise, he's making some big boneheaded mistakes.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I think they trust him though. I mean, I don't want to get off topic, but I think Jacoby Brissett was they were trying to get rid of Jacoby Brissett in Washington. So at one point, so they must really trust him.
Yep, potential's definitely there. Just stop making dumb mistakes when they're winning the game like they did last week.
Levis or Carr?
This week, Carr.
This week,
but
Carr. I think I'd still say Carr. I think if he gets healthy and this team has a decent schedule the rest of the season.
Levis or Love?
Levis right now. I don't.
Levis,
Love is just falling off.
Yep.
Bad.
Just trying to find that Mendoza line off of him, and we're kind of the mid QB too.
I liked Levis a lot coming into the draft. He was one of my. I had him as my QB1. I did. I'm not gonna lie to you. But the offense. I don't know if I don't think the receivers are that good. I mean, Treylon Burks hasn't proven anything. Hopkins is a 31-year-old wide receiver who's dealing with injuries. They have the Texans 2 times, Seattle, Miami, all really good secondaries the rest of the year. I don't know if he does finish as a high-end QB2. I think a low-end QB2, I can see it for sure, but I don't know if it's a high-end. He might not even start the rest of the year.
Yeah. I'm mid to low.
They might bring Tannehill back. Mike Vrabel's pretty in love with Ryan Tannehill, so I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know what goes through that man's head.
I don't know. Just start your rookie, man. Come on.
You're at this point. Just do it.
All right, last one here, factor cap, and I'll go to you first, Ryan. Deontay Johnson outscores George Pickens rest of season, and it has to be PPR. PPR is the key. Cap.
George Pickens is
Even
enough for that, man. Like, there's those dud games, but he has some just huge games and touchdown potential. Like, 1 touchdown, 6 catches. Like, he's going to get that.
Yeah.
He demands targets.
I was just thinking in the PPR league, Deontay Johnson, he gets a lot of targets, and he can rack those catches up. Pickens almost didn't have if he didn't get that touchdown last week, he wouldn't have been in anything.
Deontay Johnson's targets are like 12 for 62 yards.
Fair point.
We disagree on this, don't we? I can tell by your giggle.
Yeah. But what do you got here, Steven? Fact or cap? Deontay Johnson outscored
It's a
Pickens.
fact. It's an absolute fact. We see Deontay Johnson coming back playing full health after his second game, coming back from injury here. I believe he had like 10 of Pickett's 14 targets before he got hurt. Like, Pickett loves to throw the ball to Deontay Johnson, and he's going to do that. Now, will Pickens have like a couple big glove games? Sure. But Deontay Johnson is going to consistently be a guy that's going to see 7 or 8 receptions each game, and he's going to get between 60 and 80 yards each week, and the touchdowns will fall this year. Hopefully he gets a touchdown. It's been quite a while. It's been over a year. But I do believe that he goes back to being this team's wide receiver 1 on the offense.
Good stuff. I love the disagreement for sure.
Yeah, you got to be the tiebreaker.
I got to be the tiebreaker. I think I'm going Deontay Johnson as well. And I love Pickens. And I think Pickens will be the guy, but I don't think it's to be the guy this year. I think it's Deontay Johnson. He's come back and had tons of targets, like you mentioned, in PPR. That's going to rack up points. I've been playing Johnson in DFS as well because those catches they add up quick. And Pickens is the big play guy. He'll probably get the touchdowns. He'll get the big games, but it'll be those dud games where he would have had a dud game this past week if it wasn't for that 1 touchdown that he had. So that's what I'm worried about with Pickens right now. All right, let's get to the listener questions.
Go ahead. Ask me anything.
All right, so before we get to the ones on the show sheet, we did have one in the chat from Josh. And he wants to know, Ryan, rest of season defense, Kansas City or the Browns, rest of season?
I'm going to defer this. I play no leagues with team defenses. And if I do, it's a stream. I'd probably say the Browns because they're been fantastic getting the quarterback and making turnovers. But I'm not as confident about this as normal things because I either play IDP or no defense on that. So I'll be honest, and I'll just pass that one above.
All right, Steven, what do you got for this one?
I probably lean to the Chiefs. I think their matchups are a little bit better for them to make havoc. Like they have the Raiders, the Packers, the Raiders again, New England. They have matchups where they can really attack the quarterback. So I'm gonna go with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I like that you look at the matchups because that was my thought too. Is what how the matchups look up because the Browns play in a division with some pretty good teams with the Ravens and Cincinnati looking legit now all of a sudden. So I'm a little bit more worried about.
AFC North is
brutal, absolutely brutal, 100%. And Kansas City, yes, they have the Chargers who are a good offense, but they do get the Raiders and the Denver Broncos. Other than this past week, I guess when they played the Chiefs, they're then pretty much a train wreck all year. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with Kansas City as well. All right, this next one here is from Ethan on Discord. He says he has no depth. He's thinking about flipping Tyreek Hill and getting back A.J. Brown, Deontay Johnson, and Jerome Ford. Ryan, what are your thoughts on this trade here?
Well, I'm trying to find out. You skipped down there. Honestly, if you have no depth, I'm normally fully against trading away Tyreek Hill, but A.J. Brown has been unbelievable. Like you said, he just set that record for the 25-yard games. He's lights out. Him and Tyreek Hill, it's kind of flip a coin who you like more. So you're literally just adding talent to that. I'm cool with side with the package. Adding Deontay Johnson on board.
Yeah, I think I'm with you as well. I think you're right. I think Hill and A.J. Brown, Hill obviously has a higher upside, I think, but I think Brown is right there, neck and neck. And you're getting Deontay Johnson, who we just talked about, and Jerome Ford. So I think it's a no-brainer for me. That's what I'd move Hill for.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, this next one here is from John Nelson, Steven. So he's he's got a bunch of trade offers for Jahmyr Gibbs coming in, and he wants to sell high because David Montgomery's going to come back, he thinks, and take some of his work away. Even though he says, I can't believe the Lions would do that. It's definitely a possibility. They do like David Montgomery. He's asking who should he target in a trade for Gibbs, and he said Jonathan Taylor's name has come up, and you were already on record saying that Taylor is going to be not a top 12 rest of the season. So if it's not Jonathan Taylor, what are you trading Gibbs for? Are you trading him at all?
I mean, I would kind of want to hold on to Jahmyr Gibbs. I know that Dave Montgomery is going to come back at some point this season here, but I think the Lions have saw it on the field, and they had to have. You had to see this guy on the field. You have to give this guy more touches this coming season here. He's a dynamic player, explosive. How do you not get him the ball more? He's played so well these last 2 games without Dave Montgomery on the field here. There's no one I really would want to touch. I could trade him, but how many other running backs are out there that someone would want to trade for unless you're trading a big package to get an elite running back? I think honestly right now the only running backs that I'd really want to trade for is CMC, Barkley, Breece Hall, ETN, maybe Austin Eckler. Unless you're getting one of those big 5 for Gibbs, I think everyone else is a lot of people that are in that 6 to 14 range where I think Gibbs and Taylor both fall, and I think you could kind of go back and forth with either one of them this season.
Yeah, I think maybe if it's Taylor plus, then I would consider it. Yeah. But for straight up, personally, I'm not a big fan of trading straight up for the same position anyway.
No, I was about to say it would be another position I'd try to get for him, not just him.
Yeah, if you're trading Gibbs, you're going to either get Taylor plus or you're going to get a receiver because you already loaded at running back, something like that. So I think I would hold on to him for now. This next one, you might recognize this name. This is from Jeff Lambert, from myself. This is actually in the Discord that I posted. And I made this trade. I'm just curious to what your thoughts are. No, this is my home league.
You lost.
It is a 12-team Dynasty PPR, 1 QB. So last year I won a championship. I rode Jerick McKinnon, Cam Akers, and Sam Darnold to a championship. I should not have won the championship. My team wasn't very good. This year I'm sort of middling. And so I'm looking to sort of stack picks, and I've got a bunch of picks for next year already. And I got Javonte Williams on my team, and he just had a really, a heavy workload, 27 carries. I was looking to move him off of my team, and someone who was a contender, needs a running back, offered me Nico Collins straight up for Javonte Williams. I made the trade, but I'm curious to your thoughts here, guys. Javonte Williams straight up for Nico Collins. Steven, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's the trade itself. I think it's a pretty fair trade for both sides. You're getting both 2 young players who have shown flashes, might not have actually taken that next level step to truly be a strong fantasy dynasty asset. But if you're doing a rebuild, I always like getting younger wide receivers, or even a retool. I love getting those younger wide receivers now. Players I think of next year. Think of no more Bob Woods, no more Noah Brown, CJ Stroud in year 2 with hopefully a re-signed Nico Collins, or I think maybe he's got one more year. More year. So contract year, I want that on my team. If you're retooling or rebuilding or anything like that, I want those young players who are ready to blow up, because you can always find running backs any which way. We've seen it this year. You can get them on free agency. You can get them via trades pretty much easily any which way. I always want to have the young wide receivers in those situations.
Ryan, what are your thoughts here?
I really wanted to trash it. I really wanted to, and the reason I'm not is because of Houston trading away their draft picks. They don't have a first-round pick. They went from 2 to 0, and I think the fact that means Nico's going to be the wide receiver 1 there next year. I prefer Javonte personally, but Denver has a ton of questions, and I like the relationship Nico Collins has with Stroud, so I'd probably lean that side. Even though I feel weird about making that trade, I think it's a good trade, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think
it doesn't feel good making it, but it makes sense. It feels wrong.
My thought was, because it's a running back, and because it's Javonte Williams hasn't really broken out yet, that I'm looking to the future. I shouldn't have won the championship last year. I will be the first to say that. I should not have won it. So my team is not that good. So, give me a year or two, and Nico Collins will still be good in a year or two. But will Javonte Williams? That we don't know.
It's weird having a guy who was a top 8 dynasty pick a year ago traded for a person who was
Basically
who was undrafted. It just feels wrong to do, and it's a ballsy move, which I kind of respect. Yeah, I don't hate it. It's cool.
All right, we're gonna skip Shane's question. I'm gonna skip all the way down to this last one here. This one's from Joe, and I can't pronounce his last name. Purish. That's what we're gonna go with. So he is receiving Chris Olave and sending away Christian Watson and Zay Flowers. This is a Dynasty League PPR 1 QB. I'll go to you first, Ryan. So he gets Olave, gives up Christian Watson, Zay Flowers. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, if you'd asked me this a month ago, I'd say this is a smash on the Olave side. But the way Zay Flowers has been involved in Baltimore's offense, he's very similar production-wise to Olave because Michael Thomas is still back and doing stuff there and still demanding targets. And Olave has not been what he was last year. And we keep seeing the uptick in targets. And Christian Watson's still a thing, even though it's not as much. I think I'm going to take the package side on that. Even though I think it's a pretty fair trade because I love Olave's talent. I think he's the most talented player in there, but I don't see the huge difference one-on-one.
Yeah. Steven, do you agree with this one? What are your thoughts here? Olave for Christian Watson, Zay Flowers. What side are you on?
I think I'm still on the Chris Olave side, but it is getting kind of closer to like
it's getting real close.
Because like if you look at the situations, like Jordan Love doesn't seem to be, he might not pan out, and there are a lot of good wide receivers or pass catchers in Green Bay now that I think could end up being better than Christian Watson as an overall like player.
Yeah,
for fantasy.
I agree with that.
Yeah, like Jaden Reed, maybe even Romeo Dobbs, they could be better. They could. May not happen, but they could. And then Zay Flowers has been solid. But, like, the way they're using him, they're not using him to make these big plays downfield. They're using him kind of short, and he's seeing 7 receptions in a game, but for, like, 50 yards. Like, he's not being used in an explosive way that we thought he could be used in this offense here. And, you know, the more Lamar Jackson gets older, you know, I don't still trust Lamar as a passer 100%. So,
but the thing is, Zay Flowers is in year 1.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
He's getting those targets. I lost my headphone. He's getting those targets and not with. He may not have that deep threat yet, but that's just getting involved in the offense.
That is true. Yeah. That is true.
That's my point. Like they're so close to each other.
Very close. It's a very good offer. That's for sure.
It's a great. They're what? 2 fantasy points a game difference, if that.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. All right. Before I hit the drop on this last segment, I know it was a short notice, Steven. Do you have a forgotten fantasy player pulled up? Like, do you have one that you got?
Yeah, I think I got somebody that you probably might remember. I don't know. I look for a few players here, but I'll pick this guy who played for about 10 years.
All right. Let me hit the drop, and then you can give us your hints. Hold on one sec.
Get ready for goingfor2.com's Forgotten Fantasy Player of the Week.
All right, so yeah, we gotta give Steven a little pass here because he only had about maybe an hour or so to prepare for the podcast.
We've been getting killed lately.
We have
we went like 3 months without being stumped. We've been stumped the last 2 weeks.
The last 2 weeks we got stumped.
And we literally went through.
Give us an easy one, Steven.
Oh man. I think I'm giving you a pretty easy one, but maybe you forgot about this play because I don't think this is a guy I think of too often myself. So he played for about 10 years. He played for 3 different teams. In 2013, he was the wide receiver 13.
2013. I'm just going to throw some names out here.
You might get it. It's not that hard, but
it's a pretty...
I gave you a little more recent one.
2000. Don't be Googling over there, Ryan. See you typing something.
I would never do that.
Dude,
that's like juicing in baseball. Even though it's Sport Barry
2013 played for 2 years.
Not Eric Decker, no.
Steve Smith Sr.
No.
We need some more. All
right.
3 teams is not.
All right. So he started his career with Indy and finished it with San Francisco.
Geoff, if you don't get this, you're out here.
Yeah, this should help. Started with Indy 2013.
But his best season wasn't with either of those 2 teams.
Oh wow.
Oh, okay.
That was in the middle.
Yeah, so in the middle, he did his best year.
Oh man, that's tough.
Well, maybe.
Trying to think of receivers that we had that were like washed up. That I don't know if they were necessarily washed up, but that sort of finished their
Is he a
careers.
slot receiver?
No, I think he played more on the outside. He didn't do too well in San Francisco.
Is it Ricky Prohl?
No, not Ricky Prohl. If you want, I can give you the team that he did do amazing with, if you'd like.
Yeah, shit. Go ahead and give it to us.
Washington.
Pierre Garçon.
That's it.
Dude,
Here we
good.
go.
That's it.
I had forgotten that he played with the.
Yeah, he had 2 seasons of like 400 yards with 1 touchdown.
That's right.
Didn't he?
Yeah,
I thought he balled out in Indy. No?
he had like that sort of a semi breakout that got him a big contract in Washington.
Oh, dude,
He didn't
yeah. And then he stunk real bad.
Yeah, he had 2 seasons. He had like what he had 2 seasons that he had 700 and 900 yards in Indy, and then he played fairly well in Washington.
Yeah, I think the reason he came to San Francisco is the Kyle Shanahan connection. I think he played for Kyle Shanahan.
I can't remember. I had him as somebody as my comparison on one of my rookie things, and people got super mad about it.
God.
I can't remember who it was. Like, they were so upset. It was like a first-round pick type guy, too.
Oh, wow.
In my
compared
scouting
him
reports.
to
I can't remember who it was.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were so mad. And people got so mad about it.
Yeah, he was really good that season. And I mean, he had a couple of good seasons in Washington, but I mean, he was a monster in Washington. I remember that.
Couple good years, yeah.
Great pull.
Shared it.
All right, let's go around the room real quick. Give us your Twitter handle and anything you want to plug that you're working on. Stephen, we'll go to you first.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the last minute invite. You know, I'm glad I was able to help you guys out there tonight. And yeah, you guys can go find me over on Twitter at Coach Stephen P. Obviously, like I run the Fantasy Coaches. We do podcasts 2 times a week. I also write with Dynasty Nerds, and I write some pretty big articles with them that pop out every Friday and Saturday. So check them out as well. So, but I appreciate you guys having me on the show.
Absolutely. Ryan, what you got going on?
Fox534. Find me here every Wednesday night. Find me over at the Dynasty Big Boy, the Rookie Big Boy podcast. And hopefully I survive this weekend.
Good stuff. All right. I want to thank Stephen once again. You know, short notice, literally like an hour or so before the podcast. I said, hey, man, can anybody come on the podcast? And Stephen jumped in, and he did great, man, in a short time frame. Really appreciate it. As always, guys, you can follow me on Twitter at Geoff Lambert77. I want to plug one more time our DFS for Toys charity contest. The website is goingfor2.com/toys. You can go there, register. It's like 4 questions. Once you get registered, you'll get your invite, and then you could donate anywhere from $5 to $5,000, whatever you want to donate. We're hoping to raise $1,000 to get some toys for tots. So again, goingfor2.com/toys. I want to thank everybody in the chat. Of course, Jamie's here as always. Appreciate you, Jamie, being in the chat.
Love you, Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie's the best. We appreciate him. I need to get him back on the show here pretty soon. So for Steven, for Ryan, for Geoff, or for Geoff, I am Geoff.
Are you sure?
Not 100% sure. All right, that's a wrap, guys. We'll see y'all next week.